Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Patreon podcast. This week, I wanted to talk about how changing everything doesn't necessarily fix everything. And this might seem pretty obvious on the surface level. And this is a little bit of a personal journal as well as a creative exploration kind of idea. So first, we'll talk about the creativity part of it. And I think it's fairly straightforward because if you have a problem in a song, or if you have multiple problems in a song or any other creative piece, a really good instinct and something that is a good way to kind of kickstart your creativity is to just change everything in the song or the project and just see where that takes you. But if you are focusing on a very specific problem and you want to try to solve that very specific problem, changing everything most likely won't fix that problem. I mean, more likely it'll introduce a host of new problems that you also have to resolve. And I think that's it's tempting to do because you need, well, at least when I run into that problem, I need like a fresh take. I need a fresh perspective on the project that I'm working on. And I kind of want to just twist everything around and see what happens. And sometimes that does get me through, the creative troubles that I'm dealing with. But for the most part, it just kind of either creates more chaos into something that's already pretty messy, or it just frustrates me because it's like, oh, I tried all this stuff and none of it worked, so this is dumb. And I think when you're trying to solve specific problems, it's better to focus on those problems directly instead of trying to change things globally. Like you want to focus on the micro instead of the macro, the small things instead of the big things. And that's not always the solution, of course, but I think that it is a better approach than just trying to use a sledgehammer to drive a nail. And I mean, that's really the same thing. It translates into life as well. Like I want to change things in my life. And part of me is just like, oh, well, let's just buy a house in a different state. And it's like, well, that would solve a lot of problems that I currently have, but it would definitely introduce a lot more problems into, my life. And I think that it's the same thing with like changing jobs or you're doing anything else where it's just like you need to identify the specific problem that's bothering you and try to resolve that directly instead of being like, well, if I change everything in my life, then all of my current problems will go away. And that might be true, but you will have new problems instead, which may or may not be better than the ones that you had before. And I'm trying very hard in my personal life anyway to figure out like what direction I want to go in for a lot of this stuff, because I like I talked about in the last episode, like I want to kind of switch up how I approach and resolve or just do things creatively, and I don't know how to do that. And part of my brain is just like, just do everything different. Like if you do streams on Wednesday, let's try like Thursday streams where you do game development and some music, or, like I want to twist everything around and I want to just make it all different all the time. And I know that that's a dangerous path to go down because, yeah, things will be different, but the system I have now is sustainable and it doesn't impact my life like in a very serious or detrimental way. And it's just like, I have all of these things going for me with that. And like, how do I tweak those to preserve that relationship I have with the creativity, but also change it in a way that still makes it fresh and new and interesting for me? And, that's a personal journey. So, but like, I'm trying to figure out like how to do this in a way that is sustainable, and how to kind of identify things and change things in a way that makes sense. Because I feel that it's important to continue to grow and evolve. And yeah, like sorry, I'm just talking in circles now, but I think that like this kind of idea resonates with both the creative process as well as just kind of managing your life. You know, like if you have a problem, you need to solve it, but you can't solve that by creating a bunch of other problems for yourself. Or you can if you want, but it's not recommended. I've gone down that road. I don't recommend it. But it's important to just kind of look at an individual problem and figure out like how to try to just resolve it in a way that doesn't create a whole lot of chaos. I mean, that's kind of the problem with life as well as creativity. Like what you're building when you're making a project is you basically are building a bunch of systems or patterns, and disrupting one pattern can have a knock-on effect for all of the other related patterns, whether that's music, like if you have like a melody and you change the melody, then the chords might not work. Or, if you change your life, where all of a sudden, like you change your job and all of a sudden your schedule's different and you have a different stress level when it comes to that, either better or worse. And all of a sudden you have all of these other kind of effects that happen because of you changing one pattern, all of that, because all of that is related. It's all interlaced. And, that's neat and cool and very, very complicated to detangle. I know in a long time ago, I recommended everybody try to learn how to program. And I still believe that. I think that programming is one of the best skills you can have, because that's very, very directly just learning how to work with systems and patterns and understanding the logic of like, if this happens and this happens, then this will happen. And I think that understanding programming is a really good way to help detangle this stuff, because you're looking at systems very logically, and you're trying to not only kind of parse what is happening currently in the system, but if you change the inputs, how will that change the output? Like if I change my schedule, because I get into work at like 6:30 or 7, so I can leave early. But if I change my schedule, where if I worked from like 10 to 6 instead, that would change my entire day. For one, I wouldn't be able to do the 2-hour track challenge anymore, at least in the current capacity that I have it. But it would also change the way that I interact with my wife, because her schedule is different than mine, and like all of that would have to be realigned. Same thing with like my eating habits, because I tend to not really eat much until lunch, and I don't want to eat at work because people are gross. So like all of a sudden it would be like, oh, I'm probably not eating until like 6:30, which is dinner time, and who knows what I will eat. Plus, you can see like changing one thing like that has this huge effect on every other aspect of your life. And it's just like, how do you kind of find the right formula to change things just enough to fix the problem that you're currently having without introducing a host of new problems? And it's going back to creativity. It's the same thing, where like if I wanted to change the tempo on a song, then all of a sudden the drums might not work because they're too fast, or the arpeggio just gets obnoxious because it's going too quickly. And I don't know. I think I've made my point. I don't really want to talk in circles about this, but I think that it's really important to understand this and to kind of have a better grasp on all of the systems that you're working on, and understanding that, making one change to fix a specific problem is fine. And especially if it's approached mindfully, and you understand that, if I change this, I'm going to have to kind of modify how I approach some of this other stuff. But the temptation is always there to just go in and change everything. And I definitely feel that temptation right now in my life. And I don't know if that's just me being in my early 40s, having a midlife crisis, or if I'm just like not terribly happy with my job and I'm sick of living in the house that we're living in and all of this other stuff. Like, obviously I love my wife and I don't want to change that, but just like I've had the house that I've lived in for like 17 years now, and it's like I want to move. And, that's not exactly ideal because I can't, aside from like financially, but it's, it's one of those things where it's just like, I want to change everything because that'll fix all my problems. And while it might, I know that if I change everything and fix all my problems, I'm going to have a whole lot of new problems to solve. And the problem with having a new problem is you have to figure out how it works. I know how my current problems work. I just need to deal with them. And that's not really the greatest coping mechanism, but at least it's a start. And, then I can go in and I can focus on each problem individually and try to sort out, how to make it work and et cetera, et cetera. I think that's it. I really do think this is an important thing. And honestly, like, I feel that a lot of the Patreon podcasts in the future are going to be more kind of like journal entry / kind of tangentially related to creativity, simply because that's kind of where my brain's at right now. I need to just think about things more often and try to, my phone wants my PIN number for some reason. Try to sort out my own life, because honestly, like, the last 4 or 5 months have been crazy. And I want to be able to kind of get back to where I was in some degree, or not even get back to where I was, but just try to find a way to be comfortable with where I am. And I feel like right now there's just so much chaos and so much instability. And I want to try to resolve that. So I'm going to focus maybe more on some journal entry stuff and try to see if that helps at all. And of course, I'll try to relate it to creativity, because life is creativity, and I think that there's just a lot of value in drawing parallels like that, because the more facets that you look at, the more you'll understand how it works. Excuse me. I think that's it for me, though, so I'm going to get going, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for being a supporter. I really genuinely do appreciate it. I hope that you have a fantastic Friday and a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you in the next one. Be remarkable.